I was born and raised on the outskirts of a small town called Frostveil. On the surface, my childhood seemed calm and uneventful. But beneath that quiet, there was always something cold, something that never quite felt right. My mother and father were both locals, as were most of my grandparents. But my mother's father, my grandfather Marcus Hale, was not from Frostveil. He came from a place few people had ever heard of, a nearly forgotten village called Stoneford, tucked deep at the foot of the Black Ridge Mountains, barely marked on any map. I had never visited Stoneford myself. Still, whenever my grandfather spoke of it, his voice would change. It was hard to tell whether he hated that place or feared it. For more than 10 years, he had served as a lawman in the Black Ridge region. He used to say those years showed him the very brightest parts of human nature, and the darkest ones as well. In mountain regions like that, he claimed, when goodness rises high, evil sinks far deeper than anywhere else. Sometimes he would lower his voice and whisper, "There's something wrong out there, something in the air, in the water, a kind of shadow that clings even to the kindest souls." Because of that, his stories were always divided in two. Some were warm and comforting, while others were the kind that kept you awake at night. This is one of those stories. During my grandfather's years of service, one strange incident made national headlines. In the middle of a violent storm, a small aircraft carrying an unknown cargo was forced to land at the regional airstrip. Everyone later learned what that cargo really was. When news anchors talked about the officers who responded to the scene, my grandfather would quietly think to himself, "I was there. I saw it with my own eyes." But that story isn't about him. This one is far worse. It began with an elderly man named Elias Rowan. Elias lived alone in an old but carefully kept house at the very end of Lantern Street. He was a widower. Years earlier, he had owned the town's only barbershop before selling it and settling into a quiet retirement. His final years were spent caring for his sick wife until she passed away. After her death, Elias lived strictly by routine. Every morning, without fail, he visited Morning Star Cafe for a cup of tea. Every afternoon, except Sundays, he stopped by the barber shop he once owned. Around town, he was best known for raising money for the local animal shelter. According to my grandfather, Elias himself wasn't particularly fond of animals. That had been his wife's passion. But in her memory, he devoted himself to making sure the shelter's animals never went without. Because of that, he was deeply respected in Frostveil. Then one morning, Elias didn't show up at the cafe. People noticed immediately. The cafe owner grew uneasy and called the authorities. The officer sent to check on him was my grandfather. He drove to Elias's house and knocked on the front door. No answer. When he walked around back, he found the rear door slightly open. The moment he stepped inside, he heard the sound of an old children's cartoon playing on the television. He later said the sound strangely comforted him, as if nothing terrible could happen while a cartoon played in the background. He called out Elias's name. No response. Then he entered the living room. Elias Rowan's body was slumped in a cushioned armchair, frozen in place. But his head was gone. Blood had soaked into the floor, and the room was filled with a heavy, metallic stench. Later, my grandfather said it was impossible to determine what had actually killed him. The decapitation, the massive blunt force trauma to his legs, or the dozens of stab wounds found across his chest, neck, and abdomen. It was the most horrific scene he had ever witnessed. A slaughter, Everyone asked the same question. Who would do something like this to such a gentle, harmless man? The investigation immediately stalled. There were no witnesses, no fingerprints, nothing had been stolen. Whoever committed the murder had entered silently, unleashed unimaginable violence, and vanished without a trace. Eventually, my grandfather was instructed to dig into Elias's past, his family history, his lineage. That was when he uncovered something unsettling. Elias Rowan was distantly connected to an old blood feud known as the Crimson Road Conflict, a cycle of violence that had erupted decades earlier and drowned an entire region in blood. Though officially over, that hatred had never truly died. Even now, descendants of those feuding families still lived in Frostveil. Overnight, the number of suspects multiplied, but evidence never followed. The case was never solved. My grandfather used to say he couldn't wait to leave that town behind. Some places don't let go of the past, he told me once. They just bury it shallow and wait. And at night, it still feels as though someone out there is trying to wake it again.